Welcome to Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, prescribed by Dr. Harrison. Children just blow my mind sometimes. They have a better perspective on life than a lot of adults. And because they're little people, we forget to listen to them and really think about what just came out of their mouth so easily, so effortlessly, and so natural. And yesterday, my oldest and my youngest made to me what were two very profound statements. At least the youngest one made the most profound, and the oldest one just made a great observation. So I'll start with the oldest one first. You know, he's in fourth grade now. And in fourth grade, they ramped up the homework. I mean, he's got 4 worksheets per night that he's doing that are including reading and writing and arithmetic. He also has to practice the viola at least an hour throughout the week. And, you know, he still has to come to football practice, my football practice that I coach after school, because he's got to go with me to be able to come home because mom's working. And so that eats up some of the time. And he's spending a lot of time once he gets home finishing his homework, eating dinner, and then like it's bedtime. You know, he's falling into what that high school trap that most kids where it's just like, come straight home from school, do work, eat, do more work, and go to bed. And that's their life cycle while they're in school. And it sucks, quite frankly. It really, really does suck. And he is kind of, what's the word I want to use? It's been unfortunate this year because third grade was supposed to be like the big transition year where they started getting more homework to be able to prepare them for fourth grade. But last year, his school experimented with the idea of no homework, which I absolutely love. I mean, if you're at school 8 hours a day and you still need homework, well, how are we maximizing the hours at school and being efficient and effective? 8 hours a day at school and you still got to do 2 hours of homework. That's a 10-hour work day. Do you want to work 10-hour work day? You know I don't. So unfortunately, because that happened last year and now this year they went back to giving homework, well, he didn't have that transition and that practice of that skill. So all of a sudden it went from like barely any homework in second grade to 0 homework in third to a whole shitload of homework in fourth. And he's feeling the effects and he's hating it. And I don't want him to hate school. He loves the social aspect of it. He loves the emotional stability. He loves that it feels like home to him. But he's starting to not like the schoolwork because of the load that's on him. And yesterday he was just mentioning how I don't understand why we have so much work when we're at school for so long. You know, he's like, don't they want kids to play and be around other kids and have fun and learn things by playing and discovering and experimenting with things? You know, I'm not able to do anything besides just get home and do homework. I'm not able to explore. Wow. I mean, that's super profound and fascinating, right? Here's a 9-year-old kid who's already able to recognize the fact that he's missing out on life because he's sitting at a table doing homework. Now, I can't control what the school does, and I understand why they're doing the homework, and I understand why it's ramped up because they're preparing them for middle school on to high school, and it's a very rigorous academic institution. But I also think we have to keep in mind the fact that they are kids. They do need some time to play. And my compromise with it is, well, we'll get stuff done. Homework is a place for you to make mistakes. We're not going to rush through it and be sloppy, but we're not going to make sure that everything's perfect. I'm going to let you use that time in school to do that, and you give me your best effort, and we'll move on from it. But it's not going to be a painstaking process for 4 hours to get you to write a perfect paragraph. No, that's why you're in school 8 hours a day, is to go through that process of editing. I'll show you what I know here, but we're going to get through it and we're going to move about our day. But teachers, educators, I think it's something to keep in mind. I think it's something to think about when we're doling out all the homework and we're giving out all the work, is the fact that they have an 8-hour day. Then they have 2 hours of homework. The same way as teachers, we know that our 8 hours is not, in that 40-hour work week, is not real because we take home when we do grading and we do all this other stuff. Right? Wouldn't it be so much better and more effective and efficient if we had ways within our day to utilize our time effectively in a structure that's set up for us to be successful that way, to do those type of things so that it is just the 40-hour work week and it doesn't go beyond that unless it's a personal choice? How much happier would you be as a teacher, an educator, professional? As one myself, I'd be so much happier. So I want to pass that along to the kids as well. But again, my compromise, we'll get through it, do what you can. The rest of the stuff is your job to work on at school. But I'm not going to have my kids sitting down doing 2 hours of homework a night in 4th grade. Just not going to do it. And he's still learning through the process of sit down, pump it out, get it done so you have more time. But he's 9, right? He's 9. He's going to want to get up and bounce around and distract himself. He's got 2 other brothers in the house. But all I keep thinking about is when all 3 of them are in 4th grade or over, and they're all having to sit down and do homework for 3 hours. I don't know. Seems like the system just doesn't work, and I know there are countries around the world that don't do it that way and have way better test scores than we do. Okay. The other thing my youngest said, which to me blew my mind. Yesterday I picked him up from school and I was like, oh, I always ask him, how was your day? Who did you play with? What was the best part? What's the letter of the week? And I engage him in conversation about what's going on at school because I want him to share with me and I want him to share about what he's done and what he's proud of and what he enjoyed and me to get to know his likes and his dislikes. And he was like, oh, I played with so-and-so. I forget who the kid, Gavin or Zachy or whatever. I don't know. And I was like, oh, what'd you guys play? And he was like, well, we played police and so-and-so was the firefighter. And I was like, oh, was there a robbery? He's like, no, Zachy was cooking and there was a fire, so we had to come save this fire. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. He's like, yeah, but I don't want to be a police for too long. I want to be a police. And I was like, huh, is he already thinking like future career of what he wants to do with his life? Of course, that's where we go as parents, right? And he's like, no, I just don't want to be police for too long because I miss being myself. What? Even an imaginary play, he didn't want to do it for too long because he missed being himself. And that brought to mind 2 things. One is, wow, how much self-love is that? I don't want to portray anything because I miss just being me. Even an imaginary play, I just want to be me. I wish we had that amount of self-love for ourselves as adults. The other thing it made me think about was our jobs, our uniforms that we put on, or the hats that we wear, the different hats that we have throughout life. No matter what uniform you put on, don't lose sight of the fact of who you are. Don't lose sight of the self-love that you have, and don't lose sight of the fact that it's still you under that uniform. So be you at all times so that you're not missing yourself, so that you're not losing yourself in that uniform or that hat. And then when you take that off, you're yourself. No, don't miss yourself. Love yourself throughout that whole process. Incorporate that hat and that uniform as part of you. Don't let that overshadow who you are. What a profound statement from a 4-year-old. So for me, what I'm taking from it is, especially because I've got some new hats thrown on my plate and some new things I've got to be doing, at all points, I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to stay true to who I am, and I'm going to love myself in that process because I don't want to miss myself. I don't want to have to wait till I get home to be Antonio, right? I'm always Dr. Harrison out in the professional world, but one of the things I do to make sure to keep to myself, unless it's strategic that I make sure people call me Dr. Harrison, is the first thing I tell them, don't call me Dr. Harrison, call me Antonio. That's my name, right? You know my title, but call me Antonio. And so I really appreciate my son for making that statement. One, because it lets me recognize that he has a lot of self-love for himself. He does genuinely love who he is, even at such a young age. And 2, it reminded me with all the different hats and uniforms that we all put on, don't let that mask who we are. Be true to yourself. So overall, with those 2 statements I got from my kids yesterday, the biggest takeaway I had from it, besides those 2 specific ones, were listen to your kids. I've done a video on this before, but pay attention to what they're saying. Don't just write it off as little people gibberish. They are looking at the world from a completely different perspective, a more truthful, genuine, and authentic perspective. and one that's stripped of all the societal norms and rules that we place on ourselves and on each other. They're looking at it for what it truly is, an experience they're having. So follow suit. Sometimes thinking and moving and responding to the world the way you did as a young child, or the way that children move through the world, is the best option to keep your sanity, to keep you moving forward, and to keep a real perspective and on big picture of what's going on around you and around this world and in this environment. So I'm gonna start listening a little better to these boys, because they're sharing life secrets and I gotta pick them up. That's Doc's Daily Dose for Dads. Don't forget to hashtag Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, hashtag 4D, all social media at RebirthBX. Check out the website, rebirthbx.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. Go to YouTube, Doc's Daily Dose for Dads. Hit the subscribe button here. I'll get back to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.